championships. Now there's a series that they all want to be involved in, and I think I think we had about 48 riders register, so there's still another 8 or 10 riders out there that are trying to get into the racing. So it's good. Money's always a big issue. These bikes are expensive. They're £40,000, £45,000 to put a new outfit together, and then you've got all the running costs, the transportation, and one of the big parts of that was the engine, which a tuned GSXR 1000 engine is £10,000, and really you need to carry 2 of those. So there's £20,000 in engine costs, and the World Championship had already gone to standard engines. I don't think there's ever really been a power situation, but I mean, standard engine now is probably knocking out something like, or producing something like 165, 168, 170 brake horsepower, and a tuned engine is only 185, so the difference is not that great any longer. But the costs are. So what we set out to do was try and scale down the way that people could reduce the costing. So the idea was those people with works engines, probably in the British levels and club racing even, which they'd probably purchased from Grand Prix riders, didn't have to just totally dump those engines and go to standard engines. So what we decided was that club runners and riders that hadn't ridden or participated in European or World Championships could ride their tuned engines for 1 year, and then take those tuned engines and put standard heads on them in the second year, and in the third year they would have to be standard engines. But we also anticipated that would bring the field together in terms of the ability. Whilst a lot of the riders are pretty close anyway, what we did with the engines was probably one of the best moves we've done in practice. You will see, I think it was about 1.7 seconds from first to 20th place on the grid. It's something we've never seen before, really crazy. I've never raced as hard as I did this weekend, ever. I mean, really, even when I was riding well back in the early 90s, that was the hardest racing that I've ever done, and the fastest. I'm still breaking my own lap times now, but everybody else is going quicker. I mean, Schofield's a prime example. We were sort of half with Schofield last year, and he's just moved up a gear. But we're only talking half a second. It's not big times, is it? Well, I think there's quite a few youngsters out there, and I'm not sure really how we've got the youngsters coming into it, because the sport, as I say, it's not been on its best legs over the last few years. But we've got a chap called Ben Holland, who done really well at the British Championship last year. He didn't fare quite so well at this weekend, but I'm sure you're going to see him mix it up the front again. And a chap called Ben Bygraves, again, another good youngster, really, lots of support from their family. A chap called Barry James, who I think really surprised all of us. He was right up the front. He's on not the best of machinery. I think his chassis is actually 14 years old, so it's really, really well prepared. Barry's an excellent rider. He's going to go far, I'm sure. You've got to get good TV coverage for any sport, if you're going to promote it through your sponsors and bring some money in. And I think, Germany have got their German Championship. There's some good series in France, in Holland. We've got this one going now. So there's still people out there in Europe that are good riders, that we can produce a good World Championship. And I think, the proof of that is what we've done over here. You can do the same at World Championships, such that the riders haven't got to perhaps pay for all their entry money. In the past, that's what's happened. Basically, the riders have funded their own races, and it's really never going to work. what they need to be doing is, you know, being not necessarily paid to ride, but that they're getting some income from this. I mean, these guys are doing World Championships Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then going back to work Tuesday, and you can't do that. I mean, these guys they're professionals, really. And they need the professional money that comes with it, you know. We're going to give it 3 years anyway. You know, we've got a 3-year deal, and perhaps with the FIA, maybe the world thing will come along a bit sooner. But it was always our anticipation that in these 3 years we would try and look beyond the British Championship.
So there we have it. Sidecar racing may not be the best funded motorsport in the world, but it's certainly followed by the most passionate band of supporters you will ever find. We're looking forward now to race 2 to back up the excellent race 1 we had earlier in the day. The sun is still shining here on the Pembrey circuit, the 1.45 mile circuit in the south of Wales. The riders will be taken to the grid. We're looking to see whether Reeves and Cluze can back up their race 1 victory and make it 2 out of 2, but I'm sure the Birchalls will be looking to overturn that one again. So we head onto the grid, ready for race 2 again. As the riders come to the grid, there is the number 77 of our race 1 winners, Reeves and Cluze. Can they make it 2 out of 2? Meanwhile, let's go back to Steve now, who's on the...
So we're ready for race 2 of the Euro F1 Sidecar Challenge, and can Reeves and Cluze make it 2 out of 2 from today? One team that are definitely going to try and stop at the team here of Schofield and Thomas. We move a bit further down, of course, we've got the Birchalls. Now, the Birchalls are many people's favourite for this race. They spun off earlier. Can they get it on the ice this time and catch up with Reeves? Roger, it's well over to you, mate.
Ready for race 2, the Birchalls. Well, they are going to have to get a good start if they're going to make up from that 4th place grid position on this final race of the day. Race 2, as we're away into that first turn. Turn 1, let's see whether everyone gets through cleanly. And it looks like the 15 outfit of Alan Schofield and Steve Thomas who are getting there first. They are the Birchalls fighting for second. There's contract between Birchall and Reeves. But all action as we expected around that first turn. Everyone through cleanly, we think, as they stream through round on this opening lap. But already it is our first race victors, Tim Reeves and Gregory Cluze, who have hit the front again. Second place is that Schofield and Thomas outfit. A blinding start for them yet again. These are the rule changes, evening things out. As we said earlier, the Grand Prix machines on standard untuned engines. The British Championship riders riding tuned engines. That equates to about a second a lap difference, which means that the fast Grand Prix boys are riding the slower engine machines in effect. So, Steve, this really is making for exciting racing.
It is indeed, and there's a classic example of it at the front. Obviously, the Reeves don't waste much time, and we've got on-board camera here with Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson. Oh, and it looks like they're just running a little bit wide there, coming through on that L&W Racing outfit. But as we were saying, there's the number 77 outfit of Reeves and Cluze. They didn't waste much time there, did they, Roger?
No, they didn't. They're through to the front, and that's exactly where they can control the race. So, straight away, it is the Birchalls who have got all the work to do. 3rd place for them on that number 1. Number 1, of course, because they are the current reigning world champions. So they are looking forward to the Grand Prix starting at Le Mans, as we say, in a week's time. But all their attention at the moment, they want this race win, and they want to get back on terms with Reeves and Cluze already. So there we are, the number 1 outfit. They're the ones who've got the work to do. Tom Birchall, of course, the 23-year-old joiner there, the youngest ever world champion passenger. So he's got that honour already. But back on board with the Peach and Richardson crew. And this is what it's like if you're out there on the circuit. You can see there's an awful lot of work going on. And you can see how abrasive the circuit was there. So the tyres are really going to be finding it tough out there. But at the front, it is the crew on 100% record at the moment. Race 1 victors and cruising towards race 2. But let's see what the number 1s can do. They really are going to have to get on terms. 2nd place again, as you said earlier. Brilliant day there for Schofield and Thomas on the 15. They really are making use of that extra tuned engine power. And whoever thought of these rule changes must be very pleased with themselves, because the racing is absolutely brilliant at the moment. And at the front, it is another lap being clicked off by the 77. really this outfit, as we said, Steve, earlier, it's a new engine, it's a new outfit. They've gone to Maxton suspension, so they've changed everything really, and a new passenger there for Tim Reeves. So for them to be clicking this earlier in the season, that's quite remarkable, isn't it?
It is. Everything seems to have worked brilliantly. It often takes these drivers a while to get used to the new setup and, of course, a new passenger. But Gregory Cluze, the Frenchman, has taken to it like a duck to water. We saw that on board earlier with Andy Peach and Charlie Richardson. They're having a great battle at the moment with number 3, Barry James and Carl Morgan on that 16-year-old outfit. But the Birchalls, number 1, they just seem to really struggle at the start of these races, and they're taking a while to get into the run of things.
And of course they started 4th place courtesy of the small tumble they had, the spin out they had on Saturday's Super Pole race, where they were going for the lead but spun out and finished in 4th, which meant they started 4th position on the grid, which makes it very, very hard because this is a short circuit, only 1.47 miles round here. So not a lot of opportunities to make up ground. They've got to be hard on the brakes because, of course, they can't rely on the engine power to get them past as well, because they are on that standard engine. The Honda engine, of course, the 4-cylinder, 4-stroke Honda Fireblade engine, 1,000 cc's, as the rest of the riders stream through in the pack. A glorious day down here in Pembrey. A big crowd have turned out to see the action. There's been an awful lot of build-up and hype for this series. It is the biggest Sidecar series to hit these shores in 20 years, so everyone has been really looking forward to it. And if the rest of the series is going to be half as good as this one, we are in for a treat. But back at the front, in this second race of the day, it is still the same 3 in the same order at the moment. There is absolutely nothing that the Birchalls seem to be able to do to get on terms with the leaders at the moment.
No, we saw number 90 go through there a little while ago. That was John Clark and Stuart Graham, current Irish champions. And as you said earlier on, with Irish, Scottish champions, everyone goes through there. Scot Lawrie and James Connell, in fact, the Scottish champions themselves, just going through there. Just noticed as well in the back of the shot there, going around at about 5th or 6th, number 60, Ben Holland and Lee Watson there. Ben Holland is one of the most upcoming riders, and we're sure to see him coming up towards the podium end soon.
Early in the season, of course, and these teams haven't had a lot of track time and a lot of testing time, so still actually getting things dialed in a lot of instances as the rest go through. There is the number 44 going through, the Body and Barrett Suzuki LCR. But you can't mistake this number 77. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this time. But hey, Tim Reeves, 3-time world champion, finished 3rd in 2009. It shouldn't be unexpected for him to be out there at the front. He's got a point to prove this year. He wants his world title back, and he would love to back it up with this European title as well, the Eastern Airways title. But those guys are the current champions, and I'm sure the Birchalls will come out swinging later in the season at round 2. They are still there at the moment, and if they can get their qualification together, they will be there. They're pushing for second as they go into Hatches, the turn run. They tried to dive down the inside, but to their credit, Schofield and Thomas held on to second place with that number 15. That is one of the few overtaking places around the circuit, actually, Steve, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I think it's more a matter of when than if. And there's an outfit there that have just pulled over. I'm not quite sure who that is, but going into there's number 170. That's Ian Drown and Michael Swift. They're the Welsh Open champions. Also keep an eye out for the lime green machine, number 49. There it is, in fact, right on time. Roger Lovelock and Mark Howard, the current British champions.
British champions, yeah, as we say, we've got champions all over the place here. But these are the guys who haven't got a championship in 2009, but they're looking for one in 2010. And through to second. At last, we now have the Birchalls have got through to second place. Now, a clear track in front of them. Let's see if they can get on terms with Reeves. I'm sure Tim Reeves will get a pit signal to say that Birchalls are through to second place. But he's not only got to think about catching up to Tim Reeves, he's got to keep one eye over his shoulder as well, because Schofield and Thomas aren't done. They're in 3rd place. They are looking to come back, and we're in traffic. Now, this could get very interesting because we're in amongst some of the slower riders. The blue flags will be waved to tell them that, but they're having their own race. They're not going to pull over for anybody, so that is going to get very, very tight action. Away and gone at the front and in cruise mode at the moment. Reeves and Gregory Cluze are there. But look at the Birchalls in second. Now they can really get the hammer down and put in some lap times and see if they can get on terms. They were very fired up, don't forget, because it was the Reeves crew that they had their spin-off with that put them down into 4th place qualification on Saturday. So, as Steve said in the past, there is a little bit of needle there between those two